Hello there, Alaskans, wherever you are. Welcome to the Must Read Alaska Show. Coming to you from somewhere in Alaska. This is the place where we talk about, you guessed it, Alaska. Where we keep the mainstream media on their toes and where we are standing up for what's right in a world run by leftists. You can find out more by heading over to mustreadalaska.com and also checking out the Must Read Alaska YouTube channel for some really great content. But first, let's get this party started.
Thank you.
Well, welcome everybody to the Must Read Alaska Show. I'm your host, John Quick, coming to you live from somewhere in Alaska. And if you live anywhere kind of near Anchorage, you'll notice that it snowed, at least here on the Kenai Peninsula. We had almost a foot of snow yesterday, which is pretty crazy. Kids loved it. They're playing out in the snow. It's probably the first time I can remember that school was closed because of snow. I think it was because it unexpectedly dumped a foot in October and maybe the folks weren't ready. But we do appreciate our borough employees and our Alaska State employees. They cleared those roads very quickly, which we always appreciate. It's not often that those folks get compliments, so we really appreciate you clearing the roads for us. A lot of people just have it assume that roads magically clear. Well, that doesn't happen. People get up at midnight and clear the roads. So thank you so much for all the hard work that you've done. And for folks that listen, watch, or read Must Read Alaska, we want to thank you. It's because of folks like you that we do this. If you listen to our podcast, we just ask that you leave us a nice review. We're on Pandora, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, you name it, we're on it. And we do this for free because we love what we do. And so all we ask in return is a nice review. If you have our app on the App Store, some of you may think, what, you have an app? Yes, we have an app. If you go into the iTunes App Store, or if you have a Samsung or an Android phone, if you go into that App Store, just type in Must Read Alaska. Our app pops right up and it's free for use. We put a lot of time, money, resources into that as well. And if you like it, leave us a 5-star review. We have a 5-star review rating on the app and a 4.9 star review rating on the Must Read Alaska show. So we're pretty stoked about that. And if you want to help keep the lights on here, go to mustreadalaska.com. On the right-hand side there's a donate now button, and you can feel free to donate $5, $10, $100. We are kept alive because of small donations and folks that just feel the need to contribute every once in a while. So if that already is you, I want to thank you. And without further ado, we have a very special guest today. I was able, a couple of weeks ago, to spend about a half a day or a day with Junior, and he's the Chief Equity Officer for the City of Anchorage. And I can tell you one thing, that Junior is making a huge impact in the City of Anchorage. I remember, I'll tell you the quick story of folks. I'll tell you the quick story of the highlight of the video, and then we'll let Junior here kind of take it away. But we went into the school, and I remember talking to the principal. It was an elementary school. And the principal was telling me that this national speaker had come a couple weeks before, and some lady who travels the world and speaks everywhere and is like the speaking guru. And she had told me that this speaker was there 2 weeks before and had told the principal that these were some of the worst kids she had ever seen in her entire life, and she's never coming back to this God-forsaken school because the kids behave so badly. Well, I can tell you, when Junior was there, you could hear a pin drop. That's how he had these kids on the edge of their seats, just, aiming for whatever next word Junior was going to say. So without further ado, welcome Junior to the Must Read Alaska show.
Thank you, John Quick. It's always a privilege to be able to speak about the work that we're doing in the city, and it's always a privilege to work with you. So I thank you for the work that you're doing, getting the message out.
Well, I appreciate it. You are a stand-up guy, and I think you could be probably doing whatever you want in life, but you choose to make a difference here in Anchorage. So tell folks, give us a little bit of your story. Where did you grow up, and kind of what first got you involved in football when you were just a teen?
Yeah, no problem. So, I was actually born in a little tiny out in the ocean. It's called American Samoa, and I'm from the village of Ely, Ely. And I come from a family of 10 sisters, 2 brothers. And we moved out of the small island out to Hawaii, out to the West Coast state. And then that's where we moved eventually to Alaska, where we had family here to start a church, the Seventh-day Adventist Church downtown, where we started the Samoan Seventh-day Adventist Church with my father, my mother, and 2 uncles. So we started that church there. And after starting that church, my mother moved us out to Mountain View, where we lived. Went to Mountain View Elementary, went to Clark Middle School, went to East High School, and I didn't play any sports growing up. Actually, growing up, I was more of a trouble teen, a kid that got into a lot of trouble and didn't really have my focus right. And when I got kicked out of the school systems in Anchorage, I actually got relocated out to the Valley. And that's where really my football journey started, is playing football out in the Valley, where I met a mentor in my life that stepped in my life to really kind of refocus me, to be able to get my vision right, to be able to focus on my academics and athletics, but mostly my attitude, because my attitude is what determines what my future is going to be. And so when he gave me those tools, I ended up building from there. I became, one of the top football players out of Alaska that year. Ended up refocusing in training, refocusing in grades, refocusing in becoming a great individual at home. And all aspects of my life, I started changing things once that mentor was able to help me. Well, that's the same thing I did in football. Is when I got into football, I started to utilize the tools that my mentor gave me and help my teammates. Well, that's when we became very successful at Palmer High School, doing a lot of great things out there, winning culture. And then from there, I was able to go to college, to be able to go and be the first person in my family to be able to graduate college. And I really don't believe that if this mentor didn't step in my life, I would have never gone to college, because it really shifted the way I was thinking about life. And then ultimately football, which got me out to be able to go play in college.
So it's one thing, for folks to, play football in high school and then you get to college. What was it? What clicked in your mind do you remember the day where you're like, I could actually play professional football if I, train a little harder or make the right connections or, do whatever you need to do? Describe to me what that moment was like, and then tell us about your journey to becoming in the NFL.
The great thing about football, sports in general, from my experience, I can just speak of football, is that it teaches you a lot of life lessons. It prepares you for life. It prepares you to really just take accountability for your actions. So football taught me that on the field, if I make mistakes, I'm going to pay for it. And same thing in life. I use that today in life. And that's the message I share with my teammates, message I share with my family, my friends, people that I mentor. Being in these different groups is share my experience as a football player, because it taught me a lot of life skills. Well, my senior year, when I transferred out from Minnesota, I went to Minnesota State. I was visited by all 32 teams, and it felt pretty good because, people were noticing the work that I was putting on the field. And from then on, I kind of knew that there was a chance of me going pro. And, in my culture, in the Samoan culture, being a pro in the NFL is a huge deal. So it was a huge honor to be able to get picked up by the Cowboys after I graduated. It was a huge honor to be able to be in probably one of the best sports franchises in the world. And to be able to be in that capacity was just a huge blessing. It gave me a platform that I still use today to be able to impact the youth, be able to impact young adults and also adults too. So the work that I do, I give credit to the NFL, give credit to the pro teams that I've been with, because it gives me that platform to be able to reach people that other people cannot do. So it's been a huge blessing to be able to be part of pro sports and also learn about the life skills that I was taught to be able to help mentor and give other people tools too.
So tell me why you came back to Alaska. I think, again, I said earlier on, you strike me as a guy that can probably do whatever he wants in life. You could have gotten some huge, corporate job in New York City, getting paid $400,000 a year and done good, but you decided to come back to Alaska to give back. Tell me about that decision and what brought you back to Alaska.
Family. Family brought me back to Alaska, and being familiar with Alaska, growing up in Alaska, knowing the culture of Alaska, that's something that I wanted, and be able to come back and also help my family. So in Indiana, I was running a nonprofit organization that I found called Elite Athletic Trend, where I was helping youth, I was helping community engagement, I was helping better the community. Well, it didn't feel right in my heart that my family up in Alaska, this is during the pandemic where shutdowns were happening, virtual was happening, virtual learning. And my two children, Melina Desmond, they were suffering, learning from a screen. And so it didn't sit right in my heart to be able to be in another state while my children are in Alaska, suffering, learning. And so I decided to make that move from Indiana to Alaska to be able to assist them and to be able to help encourage them, to be able to help raise them as a father instead of being across in Alaska. And when I made that move, a lot of things happened. A lot of great things happened for them where they've increased in grades, and happiness is a lot happier with me as well. And then I was able to come back in the capacity I was with the DEA to be able to impact communities as well.
So tell me about your job real quick with the DEA. It's very fascinating to me. When people think the DEA, they think somebody's knocking down their door, taking their guns or their drugs. Tell us about what you did with the DEA.
Yeah, so the DEA, in the capacity I played a role there. There was a national initiative that happened across the nation. It's called Operation Engage. And Anchorage was selected as one of the cities to be able to have one of those Operation Engage. Well, the DEA and myself, we kind of ran into each other. They kind of saw the work that I'd done in Indiana with the communities and all the things that I've done as far as outreach and be able to impact locally. And they wanted me to be head spear that here in Anchorage. And so it was a happy marriage when we got together. And once that happened, I took a holistic approach, just like I do now, to be able to impact the youth, to be able to impact young adults, and also adults in the workplace. And basically, what I did was be able to spread knowledge, education about certain things that are happening currently now with the drug, the fentanyl, all the overdose information coming out of Anchorage. Basically, I was here to educate local members from elementary all the way up to adulthood, to be able to let them know that this is out there and it's real and it can impact their families.
So you did that for a little bit, and then the mayor comes knocking on your door when he wins. Tell us about what you do now, and what got you excited to come over to the city of Anchorage to be the chief equity officer.
Absolutely. I give all love and respect to the DEA, the work that I've done with them. So I'm very thankful that they gave me the opportunity to be able to do the things I did with them. But also I'm grateful for the opportunity to work for Mayor Brunson and also the administration, and also work with the assembly to be able to do what I'm doing. I give them thank you for confirming me as well, to be able to be the first Samoan highly ranked in the history of Alaska. Which goes a long ways in my culture. Seeing an individual to be able to do this encourages many. So in my role now that I play as a chief equity officer, it's a dream job. It's where I'd be able to connect groups, connect individuals that need the resources here in our government, and I bridge that gap. Also, what I do too is to be able to find ways to diversify our workforce, to be able to bridge that gap as well. Have people at the table that usually were never at the table before with the mayor. Currently, I'm holding a listening tour. I do it every single year. Last year, I did it last year, and I met with multiple groups. And basically what I do is I listen, I hear about the different barriers that are happening within their community, and what are the things that I can do to be able to bridge that gap with government resources and also local resources. Well, this year we're having that listening tour again, but it's not just me. We're having the mayor sit in on those listening tours, to where now they have a seat at the table with the mayor, with themselves, to be able to give the successes and the barriers that the government can help out with within that group or community.
So these listening tours, just to give a little more info for folks that are listening, you're going into different cultures within Anchorage and giving them a seat at the table, if you will, to be able to say whatever they want to the administration or the city. Tell us what one of these has looked like or potentially looks like, because I think it's fascinating. Oftentimes government makes you come to them. That's pretty much 90% of the time. They it's just the nature of the beast. They do have public meetings and whatnot, but usually lots of people have jobs and they work, and they got soccer moms and stay-at-home dads and 40 other things to do. You all are literally going into the community and meeting them on their own turf, and making it one step easier for folks to get their concerns or their praises out, but my guess is there's lots of concerns. So tell us about maybe one particular one that went well and one that you're excited about.
Yeah, and the thing about the listening tour is being able to get them at the table, seat at the table, but also be able to be in a safe place to where they can actually share and discuss some of the issues or barriers that are happening. And what that listening tour offers is to be able to do that. Last year, I held these listening tours with many organizations and people. To now, they're like, "Oh wow, we're doing it again." Well, this time we're having the mayor, so we have the wow, the mayor's there. So a lot of them are really shocked that they get to be able to sit with the mayor and talk. So we go to these different groups and organizations, and we really find out. And the mayor has the opportunity to sit and listen to the things that are happening. You mentioned it. This is probably one of the most diverse communities across the United States. And I grew up in it. I grew up in that, so I know some of the issues growing up there. I know some of these individuals. I know some of these groups that do have things going on that need to be heard. And so when we go into these listening tours, one of these groups expressed that they needed a cultural center. And the reason why they needed a cultural center is because they needed more language access. And another group asked for a computer lab that will help their young adults to be able to join the workforce more educated. Well, my job also is to be able to connect resources that are local. So we partner with the Small Business Association, and then we also partner with the Department of Labor. And so I connected with those individuals to be able to get those resources that are from the state and federal level as well. And so I don't just utilize our resources here in the city, but I utilizes our partner across the state and also locally. So, for example, some of these groups will come to us and say, "Hey, we don't have people that can translate." Well, now we're able to connect them with groups that are locally, these nonprofits that are doing work, to be able to come in and be translators, to be able to come in and help out with papers, whether it be for health or anything like that. They'll be able to connect with the local resources that are here in Anchorage. And so these listening tours are very vital because we're able to hear the local issues that are happening. Alaska is a lot different than, say, Washington or California, Florida, any of those other states. So we're a lot different. So we got to listen to the individuals that are here in our community to be able to break those barriers.
I love it. The government does a lot of telling tours, and you've flipped the script and done a listening tour. So I think it's pretty awesome. You've also done, I believe so, you've done some job fairs in these communities as well, which I think is super important. Again, oftentimes government comes in and tells you what to do and then gives you an opportunity to have some public comment at the end. You're coming in and you're acting as a friend and family and giving a relationship to folks and then some resources on the side. So tell us about what these job fairs look like, and are there any more planned here in the future?
Absolutely. So we hold a job fair every 3 months. And the reasoning behind that is that we want to show the community that we're committed to getting people back to work. And so we started when I came in, everybody's struggling to have people go to work. Well, now we're able to kind of utilize some of these resources, as far as like buildings, to be able to go and host these job fairs, meet them where they are at, so they can just come. So the very first one that we had was in Fairview. And then the next one we had was in Mountain View. Then the next one we had was in Spenard. Then we just had one Midtown in Library. The next one will probably be in Muldoon. So we're just touching all these different locations, providing a resource that for some people it's probably a barrier to get to, or because of travel or whatever. And we go to these different locations so that people in those areas have access to job opportunities. So whether it be from the city or whether it be from our local partners that want to get on board. This last one, we had over 40 vendors, and we had over 125 or so. One organization, I think it was Cars, ended up hiring 7 people on the spot.
Oh, wow.
So it's very beneficial to be able to host these things and show the community that we're committed to doing things to help our community. And one thing I know, if you want to show the community you're there for them, you show up for them. And so we've gone to these different communities to be able to offer this resources for these different groups and give individuals opportunities to be able to succeed in life.
I love it. You're literally providing them the opportunity to get a job, and some of these jobs are probably government type jobs with great benefits and pay. And I think it's a big step in the right direction for you to do these job fairs inside the communities as opposed to making them always come to you. So one of the things that I think that I'm most excited about that you're doing a ton of work, but the thing that I got to see firsthand is you inside the schools. And so I want to paint a picture for folks before you tell us about it. Is we all have, everybody that went to public school or even private school, we've all had, those one or two memories that we have from elementary school when that cool assembly happened, and somebody came in and maybe it was the dude with the yo-yos or maybe it was a motivational speaker. Well, Junior is that for these kids. Just imagine yourself as a second grader, third grader, fourth grader, and an NFL player shows up to your school to tell you how to potentially be a better person and make a big impact in the world. This is happening in Anchorage, and kids are eating this stuff up. Literally, teachers, the one that I went to, I only went to one, teachers were in tears. The principal was in tears because of the response that this school had from what Junior had to say. So Junior, tell us about this work that you're doing, and do you plan to keep doing this through the rest of the school year? Tell us the future plans of it as well.
Yeah, so the big thing that I focus on is a holistic approach, and one of those approaches is working with. So it's working with the youth, working with young adults, working with adults in the workplace. Those three areas is what I focus on. And one of the areas I work with, which you were part of, is working with the youth. And so working with the youth in that capacity, it gives me the opportunity to go in there and speak about my experiences to help kids see that the future is right in front of them. They have control of that, which is with their attitude. And I'm sure you saw the helmet that I brought in there. One of the things that I share with the kids is that the most important thing on the football field while performing as pros is not our speed, not our strength, it's not our body, but it's our head, our head. So we use the helmet to protect it. Well, it's the brain. And I share that with kids that they have to protect their brain, whether they have to protect it in academics, athletics, they have to protect the circle that they're in because they got to protect their brains because our future really does depend on our youth. And so when I go in there and I cultivate future leaders out of today's youth, it's a huge pleasure of mine because that was something that someone did for me. One story that I shared during my confirmation, when I was in college, I actually was going through a phase where I was about to get kicked out of school. And then because of a chief equity officer stepped in and told the president that I had qualities outside of academics that would qualify me to continue on because, I have leadership skills as a Samoan. I have leadership skills in sports. All those things will be able to get me back on track. Well, that chief equity officer helped me maintain my status as a student. And after that happening, I ended up graduating college and becoming the first person in my family to be able to do that. Well, in my role as I play as a chief equity officer, I want to do that for our city. Same exact thing, to be able to recognize different skill sets, recognize the different traits that people have, but also let them know that it comes down to them and their attitude. So what I do in these different assemblies, whether it be a big one, small one, individual, basically I give them the tools, I hand it in front of them, they have to pick it up and get to work.
So you are a hero to a lot of folks, and you're an extremely humble guy. Who's been a hero in your life? What keeps you motivated?
It would have to be my father and also my mother. Being able to be underneath their guidance has always helped me become the young man I am and the Christ follower that I am. And then also to be able to have a big heart for our community. Because I grew up with 10 sisters and 2 brothers. So that prepared me.
That got you prepared real quick.
Oh, real quick. So that prepared me for, these assembly meetings and all these listening tours. So 10 sisters, it'll prepare you for life.
So any other things that you're excited about for this coming year that you got plans for that you want to share before we head out here?
Yeah, I'm just excited to be able to, help these different groups. I'm sure you saw that we're working with groups to be able to come in, to be able to be a resource locally. to be able to empower different groups, to be able to help people locally, and to be able to see organizations grow. I'm sure you saw that the Ukrainian efforts a year ago, they were just out in the freezing cold and with just a mic and just talking about how they need resources, they need things to be able to help individuals coming from Ukraine. Well, now we just did a ribbon cutting for them about a month ago to be able to have a facility and to be able to uh, have resources, local resources for individuals that are struggling from the Ukrainian community. Those are the things that wake me up every single day, is to be able to encourage, to be able to help different groups, different people to be able to succeed here locally in our great city of Anchorage.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Junior, for joining us. And for folks that maybe just caught to the tail end of this, I want to encourage you to go back and listen to the entire thing. Junior is a real life superhero doing great stuff in Anchorage. And I want to encourage folks that you can do the same in your community. Everybody knows people, everybody's connected, whether you're connected with one person or 100. Maybe your kids go to school and you know that kid that doesn't have a winter coat or can't have a warm breakfast. Each person out there can make a difference in somebody's life. And maybe it's making a difference in your own family's life. Maybe it's making a difference in your friend's life or your neighbor's life. But one of the things that I like about Junior is I think that he'd be doing this kind of stuff regardless of wherever he's at in life. So Junior, I wish you nothing but success. I'm very excited that you're in the city of Anchorage. And I wish you well in your endeavors. I hope that you keep up what you're doing. These listening tours and the job fairs and speaking at schools is making a big impact. So kudos, way to go. And for folks that are listening, you can catch us on Pandora, iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, pretty much anywhere there's a podcast. You can find us. Tomorrow, I'm going to have Pastor Ron from Anchorage Baptist Temple on, talking about where faith intersects with politics. And it's going to be an interesting conversation. Yesterday, I had Senator Mike Showers on. You're going to want to take a listen to that. That's he had a little bit of fire under his belly. So for folks that want to listen to that, he refutes a lot of the things that his opponent is campaigning on and against him. So it's worth the 30 minutes listening to. So until next time, I'm John Quick signing off from somewhere in Alaska. Thank you so much, Junior.
Thank you, John.